Tigercast fans, welcome back to another video. We're not far away from Christmas now, so I thought we would do one final training session video just to talk about the Sunshine Coast camp and what we made of that. And obviously wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas as well. But the team's obviously just finished up their training camp, their preseason camp up on the Sunshine Coast. Again, I want to give a massive shout out to the football club itself and the social media department in particular for putting through a heap of videos on the time they were away. It's something that us fans always thoroughly enjoy, so thank you to the club for that. But looking at what we could see from those videos and the various training reports that come through, what was of most interest to me was Dion Prestia is going hell for leather. He is leaving no stone unturned this year. And it's kind of seems like a bit of a different approach for him this year. Typically, we've probably seen someone like Dion Prestia go through pre-season a bit more cautiously, a little bit more slower, and just easing into it. But it seems like now the attitude is crash or crash through. So he is putting his best foot forward, and I think he was on the news saying he probably felt like he was in some of the best condition that he's ever been in, because he is actually putting in all the hard yards. He's not holding back, and kind of whatever happens, I guess, is the mentality. Also interesting to hear that him talking about his desire for wanting to do some coaching post-football. Now that typically would mean not with us. Usually players will go to another club after their playing career to learn a different environment, but it is good to know that someone like Dion Prestia we've got out there on the field and in training at the moment, being an on-field coach of sorts to provide some good direction and leadership. But yeah, very interesting to see his progression so far. He's looking $1 million, dare I say. Josh Gibcus, if you watched the hill run video at the end of last week, he's been doing some hard work as well. And I know there was a little bit of speculation about, was Josh Gibcus training? Has there been setbacks and things like that? But it seems like he's putting in the hard yards, maybe not as further down the progression track as someone like a McKelty-Lafau, who seems to be doing pretty much basically everything. And he's had a super impressive recovery from the knee reconstruction. Granted, he's a little bit older, a lot more muscle around the knee area to hopefully help with recovery. But yeah, Lafau seems to be putting in some really big efforts as well in a bid to get back to get his spot, maybe even from round one. I thought that was a little bit far-fetched, just given the timing of the injury. Maybe it's not as far-fetched as I thought. So keep an eye on McKelty-Lafau to put his hand up for a spot early days, potentially. The player that seems to be impressing the most in the match simulation from a forward perspective, though, is Jacob Bauer. Now, I know a lot of us have got very high hopes for Jacob Bauer on the back of seeing very limited, game time from him in the last couple of years due to injury. But even the back half of last year, he was definitely showing some good signs of what he was capable of. Nice mark, good kick. He's shown at VFL level he's capable of kicking clutch goals multiple times after the siren. And it sounds like he's being played as that high half forward, which is kind of what I thought he would do, because he's going to have to do that work rate in between the arcs to be the link-up man, because Lynch kind of can't do that role anymore given his age. So Bauer seems to be playing that type of role at match sim, which is really, really good to see. So hopefully, I would love to see Jacob Bauer a lock for round one. I think it would be, you want to get 22 games into him uninterrupted, would be the aim for him. So good to hear about Bauer. Another interesting point that we saw in the match simulation videos was Tyler Sonsie doing a lot of work with the midfielders, which is kind of exactly what we're all hoping for, because it's sort of been established he's not really fitting in the half-forward role, and there's no question he does his best work as a midfielder. We've seen that time and time again when he goes back to the VFL. And look, I know it's probably a little bit of circumstantial reasons why he hasn't had a crack in our midfield, but I really think that in a year that's potentially his make or break year, and in a year that there's not really a lot on the line for us as a club, we need to see what he can do in the guts. So even though the jury is maybe still a little bit out on Tyler Sonsie, it's really nice and encouraging to hear him training in the group and in the part of the ground that best suits his play style. So hopefully in 2025 we can see him get an extended run as a midfielder, because it's just where he does his best work. And if we're going to have to see whether he's going to sink or swim, let's do it in the spot where he plays his best football. But there's going to be some hot competition there as well. Obviously, someone like Jack Ross is in that mix as well. Hopper seems to be training really, really well. And it's good to see guys like Hopper, Taranto, Broad, McIntosh, Short and Prestia have really taken the mantle of putting on, I suppose, like setting the standards for the younger kids, showing really, really good leadership values. Obviously, we've lost quite a bit of leadership in the last few years. So to see that next wave of elder players step up has been really good. And honestly, I've been really impressed seeing what I've seen of Jacob Hopper in these preseason videos. And look, I know that I've personally not been able to find a spot for him in the midfield just yet, but that's more about not being in the same midfield as Taranto and Prestia. But I think in isolation as an individual player, he should most definitely be playing in round one, I would think. I'm just not sure in what role yet. And finally, Ryan Mansell and Dion Prestia were announced as the Tony Mangan Award winners on the preseason camp. Now, this was an award that is given to the player or players who best represent a certain value set encapsulated by Tony, but also mirrors the value set defining us as a club. So it's a very special award for the players that is done on the preseason camp. So well done to Mansell and Prestia. I know Mansell's been somewhat of a poster boy, I guess you could call it, for us this preseason. Look, he kicked 30-odd goals last year, and there's no reason why he can't take his game to a new level this year. So, and again, like we spoke about Prestia at the start, he's been going hell for leather in a bid to just, either make it through in the best nick of his life or he's going to crash and burn. So he's essentially rolling the dice. But whatever the new fitness staff are doing with him seems to be working, and you can see from the videos there's a lot of emphasis and focus on different running techniques and styles, body movement and positioning with running and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting training approach, and I think it's one that's been a little bit different for the players, but it sounds like they're all fully embracing it and getting right behind it as well. But that is a training report wrap for the year. We hope you all have a very, very great Christmas and safe New Year. There might be another video or two that drops in the meantime before New Year, but in particular, have a great Christmas, everybody. We thank you again for your love and support, and we look forward to seeing more training stuff in the early New Year from the Tigers. So make sure you like and subscribe below, and I'll see you for the next video.